Good morning, everyone. I'm Butimela Moletov Radikhomo here. Now, I have a word for young people. I have a word for this current generation. Now, this morning, the Lord gave me a revelation, when asked to the dream that I had. I think it was back in 2019. Now, I'm going to start sharing the dream, and then I'm going to give you a few scriptures, and then I'm going to get to the revelation. Now, this morning, I think it's important that most of you get this message, because I believe this is the word that God is giving to our generation now. Yes, the dream, this is how it unfolded. Now, it was as if I met our current president, President Ramaphosa, and as I spoke to him, and this encounter happened, at my workplace, and I spoke to him, and I said to him, Mr. President, I believe what you need, is to bring back the young people, and in the dream, the young people I was referring to, I meant the young people that the ANC has lost, this the vibrant young leaders that have now moved to other parties and have ventured into other streams of works. But now, this morning, God is giving me again once again the reassurance that we are now living in a time whereby God has appointed some leaders amongst us as the young people who are going to be led in churches, in many community-based organizations, in parliament, in politics. We are going to see young people, stepping into positions of leadership, and this is God's doing. Take this way to us, my friend. This is what God is doing right now. Now, in the book of Exodus, we saw God using Moses, and performing miracles, through Moses, and they crossed the Red Sea, and we all know that immediately after the Red Sea, they had to go through the wilderness. This is where God was preparing them. This is where God was training them, and preparing them for what he was about to do. He was preparing them for the land of Canaan, the promised land, the land flowing with milk and honey. But you would notice that most of the people died, while they were still journeying in the wilderness. They were stubborn. They would rather go back, to the old ways. And God kept speaking to them through Moses time and again. And most of them died. Even Moses died. Even Moses could not enter the promised land. And now. The Red Sea, it was their first crossover, and their first crossover, it was the wilderness. And after the wilderness, they had to come into their second crossover. This crossover was a kind of crossover that would allow them to tap into the promised land, the land, filled with milk and honey. But what is very important here, friends, is that you need to take note that they first had to go through the wilderness. Only those who remained faithful in the wilderness, they were able to enter the promised land. Meaning, now this was a total new generation. This was the Joshua generation, not the Moses generation, but the Joshua generation was the one that crossed the Jordan River in the book of Joshua. The first crossover happened in Exodus, Moses, and now the second crossover, which was to cross over into the promised land. It was the Joshua generation. It was the young generation, the new generation that crossed over and saw the promised land, through Joshua. So I just want to say to you, somebody, us as young people, we need to get a spiritual awakening through all these things that are taking place. Even in this time of COVID, we have lost so many of our leaders, our old people. God is giving us a message. I am not saying, don't get misled, I'm not saying God created COVID. This, comes from the pits of hell. But God is also, using this, to give us a message, and to say to us as young people, we need to prepare ourselves. Another example I can make, is that it took the death of the priest Eli, for the young Samuel to be able to come into the position of being a judge of Israel, and to become the priest of God. Another example, can take, is that it took the death of Moses, for Joshua to ascend into the position of leadership. Even David, it took the death of King Saul for David to be able to ascend, into the position of kingship over Israel. And take notice, I made 3 examples right now, and all these young leaders that came into positions of leadership, they all had been in their wildernesses. So I just want to say to you, young people, now God is about to release most of us to become leaders. We need to get the awakening, that God is trying to give unto us. God is raising the new breed of leaders, and these leaders are young people. Another example, because I know, that it is difficult at times to believe in a young people when coming to matters of leadership. But Jesus Christ, our Messiah, he was 30 years when John baptized him, and his ministry only lasted for 33 years. But when when the Calvary experience took place, he was only 33 years. He was so, full of maturity only at 33 years old. I believe you will get this message, and I believe, this message will change some areas of your life, and I believe that this message will bless your life going forward. Enjoy your day and stay focused and be fruitful out there, so that, you can be able to accomplish that of which God has appointed you to do in this earth. Thank you, and God bless. Amen.